In this video, we're going to be talking about Wattson versus Caustic in Apex Legends and which legend is ultimately better to use within the Battle Royale mode. Yo, what is going on, Legends? My name is Crazy Pie and we're going to be talking about Wattson versus Caustic. You know, two of the trappers in Apex Legends, two of the high skill, high reward, people in Apex Legends that you can use. And Wattson is one of the newer legends and she's definitely making waves inside of the game, but it's very hard to tell which one is better. It's very hard to tell, which one you should use because most of them are the exact same and most of them pretty much do the same thing. But, they both have different, traits. Both of them can place traps. Their ultimate abilities are a little bit different, but both of them pretty much do have the same gist of what they can do on the battlefield in Apex Legends. So we're going to be talking about both of their traits, which ones they do better, and we're going to be starting with their passive ability. Now, Caustic's passive ability, if you didn't know, is called Fortified. You basically, you can take 15% more damage when you're being hit. This is to hopefully, deal with his bigger hitbox. I know they were updated, but, just having that 15% extra damage reduction that you can take is just going to be a lot better in my opinion, because Wattson's passive really is only going to have to deal with using ultimate accelerants. Basically, all her passive does is allow her to instantly charge her ultimate when she uses one ultimate accelerant, which I guess is pretty good, but in my opinion, I would rather have reduced damage taking, because when you're in a gunfight especially, it's going to be helping you out a lot. So say if you get hit for 38 damage to the head, which is what the flatline deals every single time you hit him in the head. If you do 38 damage minus 15%, they're only really going to hit you for 32.3 damage, which is going to be a lot better in my opinion, because I'm not really the biggest fan in Wattson's actual ultimate ability. I'm not going to be biased here. I'm not going to be biased at all. It definitely is nice being able to have your ultimate ability, but in my opinion, if it was Caustic that had that same passive ability, I would think it's a little bit better, but just being able to take that extra damage is going to help you a lot more in terms of gunfights. So right there, I'm going to have to give the point to the passive ability straight up to Caustic, as well as I guess Gibraltar. Gibraltar has the same passive ability. Wattson is pretty much a mix between Caustic as well as Gibraltar, but we're going over Caustic here. So Caustic takes the point in my opinion. Now in terms of tactical abilities, you either have Caustic's Toxic Gas or Wattson's Tesla Traps. Now these ones are where they are going to be very, very similar. This is the main reason why I'm making this video right here, because I wanted to just get this out there and compare the two legends' tactical abilities and talk about which one is better. So straight up out of the gate, both of their abilities are basically going to be mobile defense traps. Caustic has his gas traps where he can throw them down. Wattson has her Tesla nodes, but the biggest difference in my opinion has to be the ability to see each of these abilities, because if you place a toxic trap beside a doorway, you're not going to be able to see it when you're running in there, which is going to be a lot more beneficial because enemies will just be able to walk in there. They won't have any idea unless they use a Bloodhound ability. But for that reason alone, Caustic is better. Like just 100% Caustic is better in my opinion, because you can see Wattson's ability very, very easily, especially from far away. Now it's gonna help, you're gonna be a lot safer in terms of getting away from enemies because they can't enter into your little circle if you make one, but they can still shoot through it and they can still see through it. If you place a toxic trap in a doorway, like I said earlier, the enemy's gonna run in there and they're not gonna have any idea that there's gonna be a caustic trap there. They're just gonna run in there and they're gonna get gassed and they're not gonna have any idea that that trap was there. And it's going to be very annoying. And as well as, the enemies aren't going to be able to see that well through the traps, but Caustic is. He has a gas mask on and he's able to see through his own traps, which is going to make it a lot easier, in my opinion, for Caustic to go in and get the kill because he can see through it. He has an advantage over his enemy when they get, inside of his trap, and he can keep placing traps behind the enemy so that they are constantly inside of his gas. Now, in my opinion, I think his traps deal more damage over time than Wattson's do, but Wattson's ability still will stun the enemies if they run through it. It's kind of like an arc star, but it's like an arc star wall. They will get zapped. They can see, they can be seen through the map, kind of like Caustic can. But in my opinion, it's a lot easier to shoot out Wattson's traps. It takes a little bit more ammo, but it's a lot easier to see them, which means it's a lot easier to find where they start and to find how to shoot them out. So Wattson's traps, I would say, kind of suck. They're not terrible. I know there's a lot of Wattson supporters out there, but in terms of, the mobility of her traps and what they can do in terms of hurting the enemies, Caustic's traps are just better. Wattson's traps are way too easy to shoot out unless you have just a very good trap placement, but you can see them from a mile away and you can't see Caustic's from a mile away. So Wattson's traps, in my opinion, just aren't that good because, you can see them and you can either grapple over them or, just run past them or run through them, and there's not really going to be that much risk. Obviously if you run into a Caustic trap, there's not much risk because if he's not there to support his traps, then, it doesn't really matter, but at least both of their abilities have the ability to notify you when an enemy has stepped into the radius or stepped through the wire. But then again, why would you willingly step into the Wattson trap? At least if you're using a Caustic trap, the enemy isn't willingly walking into it, they just accidentally happen to step into it and you manage to get some damage off on them and you manage to gas them up. I also think the point has to go to Caustic as well, as because you're able to throw his ability. Each single one of his traps, you don't have to manually place them. You can pretty much just throw them and they're going to be in their spot. So I think it's a little bit easier in that regard because you're able to just toss them and the enemy will still walk through them. So I honestly think I'm going to have to give the second point here to Caustic as well, because his ability, his toxic trap, I think it's just a little bit better in my opinion. It's just you're able to damage the enemies a little bit more and over time, and you're able to see through the ability as well and get more damage off and hopefully easily have an advantage in the gunfight. But now we got to talk about the ultimate abilities. This is pretty much where it gets spicy. Alright, the ultimate abilities are 100% in no means the same in terms of what they do at all. It's kind of like the passive ability, and it depends on what you like. Alright, it depends on your playstyle. For me, I'm not going to give any point to any legend here, but in my opinion, I would give the point to Caustic because his ability actually ends up damaging enemies as well. It's basically like a throwable gas grenade, but I'm only going to give it to him because I'm a more aggressive player in Apex Legends. If you are a more passive and, tactical player in Apex Legends, then by all means, Wattson's ability is going to be way better for you because it'll help support your team and it'll block enemies' abilities. If I were comparing Gibraltar and Wattson together, I would 100% say that Gibraltar's tactical ability is better than her ultimate, but, being in terms of her, tactical or her ultimate ability, I would say Wattson should get the point here, depending on which playstyle you play as, but because I'm a more rushing and a more gung-ho type of playstyle in Apex Legends, I personally just think that, Caustic should get the point because I like being able to damage the enemies from afar and being able to just toss a gas inside of a building and push people out of it and being able to, have an advantage in the gunfight because you can see through the gas but the enemies can't. But it's really going to have to decide on the comment section. So I want you guys to go down below, give a good reason why. I don't just want you to say Caustic or Wattson. I want you guys to talk about which ultimate ability you like better and which legend should get the point in terms of their ultimate ability. Each of them drastic very differently from player to player. Obviously each legend is going to drastic differently from player to player. I can sit here praising Caustic all I want, but that's because I just like how I play with him a lot better. I'm not a fan of Wattson just because I don't really like her abilities because they're a little bit more passive and a little bit more tactical. I like playing fast, I like playing frenzy, and I like just going in and rushing into the game, which is why I like Caustic a little bit better. I'm not really biased here because I still do use Wattson all the time, I still do try and use her, but in my opinion, in terms of straight out of the gate here, in terms of abilities and damaging enemies and helping you out in gunfights, I'm going to have to give it to Caustic. Alright, I know there's going to be those guys in the comments saying you're very biased, but in terms of straight up raw abilities, Caustic has to get the points. I like Caustic a little bit more, which doesn't really matter, but in terms of what his abilities can do on the battlefield and giving you advantages in the gunfight, Caustic has to win. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the daily Apex Legends video. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Comment down below, Instagram link, everything down there. I'll see you guys tomorrow for everyone. Peace out, boys.